Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Born Too Late podcast. And the reason I say like another is I can't believe we've we haven't been on there that long, but we've almost been doing this for a year, and we've had so many cool guests, and we have something special cooking up for our 25th episode, which is coming up. So if you care at all, stay tuned for that. We'll make some more teasers as it gets closer to that time. But anyway, I am sitting here with my good friend Josh Rutledge, and Josh, I want to ask you, what is your Gaggers story? What do you remember? What the first time you heard the Gaggers? Or
I do. They put out a really, really great album called Rip You Apart.
mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing this was 2011. I just remember hearing this band and being blown away that after decades of listening to punk music, I could hear a band that kind of made me feel like I was hearing that style of music for the first time again, and just have this like really kind of snotty powerhouse rock and roll style of punk that sounded kind of like the 70s, and obviously very British, but also inspired by lots of American bands. And you could tell that they were into like the Pagans and the Jabbers and stuff like that. That was like kind of rude and uncouth.
Mm-hmm.
And like immediately I thought, okay, this is now the punk band of this particular generation. And unfortunately, they were
Right.
short lived. But I really feel like if you take that era, that first half of what we think of as the 2010s, 2010 to 2014, the Gaggers were it. They were the best like pure punk band going, in my opinion. They had that other great album called Blame You and numerous singles, including Psychosomatic, which might be, in my opinion, like the best punk rock single of that particular decade.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't last forever, but while they were around, they were a force to be reckoned with. So, what's your Gaggers story?
Yeah, I agree that the Gaggers to me are titans, are absolute titans of punk rock. My Gaggers story. So, I was hanging out with my friend Jim from Underground Medicine and Rapid Pulse Records, and we were hanging out at my house, and we were just sitting around talking. And I was telling him, my gosh, and it was like the 2010s, 2011s, and I was sitting there telling him, like, gosh, I'm getting kind of bored with underground punk music. It's like there's not a whole lot out there. And he goes, yeah, well, he said, have you ever heard this band called the Gaggers? And I said, no. And so he put YouTube up on my TV, and he played the Two Fingers Down Your Throat video. And I was completely blown away. That's just, I can't even express it. And that right there lit my fire back on underground music, and turned me on to No Front Teeth and everything that guy does, and just reintroduced me to invigorated my interest in that once again. Something, Lookout was gone, Ripoff was gone, Estrus was gone. I think Sympathy was petering out. So all that stuff that from the 90s and early 2000s was like kind of like on its way out, and I had nowhere to really go. But that right there, that video, that song, that band completely turned me back around, and it's lit that fire in me so much that it hasn't even burned out yet. It was so influential to me. So yeah, that's my Gagger story. And in case you didn't read the title of this episode, we have got Marco from the Gaggers, from No Front Teeth, from Botox Rats, Stalin Video, Miscalculations, just to name a few. So this is Marco's episode.
When every day's feeling like a Monday morning, staying out late, kinda gets boring. Do what you wanna when you wanna do something now. I'm getting older by day, younger at night. I need a little something to feel alright. Yeah, do what you wanna when you wanna do something now. Yeah, you do what you wanna when you wanna do something now. Chances are you've made some choices, but not hearing your inner voice.
So we are excited to welcome Marco to the show. Hello, Marco.
Hello, guys. How's it going?
Good, man.
Fantastic. This is our first program outside of North America.
Hopefully our
Amazing.
first of many.
Yes, our first of many. We want to
I'm honored. So, yeah.
become a global podcast. So we wanted to kind of ask you about where it all started for you. So we're just wondering, like, how you came to discover punk rock and maybe how you first started to play in bands.
All right. Yeah, cool. So it's weird because I discovered punk rock twice. So like so I used to be a real metalhead. I used to be into like when I was, I don't know, 10 or 11, Guns N' Roses were like my whole world and stuff like that. So after that, then I got into like heavier stuff. I loved Slayer, Obituary, Napalm Death, Metallica, even classic stuff. I used to love Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, stuff like that. And a kid at my school, a guy who I was friends with, gave me Nevermind the Bollocks. And I loved that. But I was still like a total metalhead. So I was listening to the Sex Pistols while also listening to all the metal stuff. And then, because I'm Italian, we used to go to Italy every year. And one of my sister's ex-boyfriends gave me a cassette that had Blue Oyster Cult on one side and the Clash on the other side. So I was listening. So I was listening to the Pistols and the Clash at the same time as I was listening to all this metal stuff. And then I also loved things like the Butthole Surfers and the Dead Milkmen and stuff like that. But I wasn't like a punk rocker. I wouldn't have considered myself a punk like at all in those days. And then my parents, because my parents are Italian, we used to have like Italian TV in our house. And sometimes I'd get MTV like randomly, like sometimes you'd get it, sometimes you wouldn't. And I was watching just MTV, and I was about to leave the room and MTV News came on and I caught a segment on Green Day. And I didn't catch the name of the band or anything. I was just walking out of the room and I caught a glimpse of Billy Joe, and it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. And I was like, whoa, what's this? So I stayed until I heard the name. I was like, that's it. I got to go and find some of the Green Day stuff. And for me, that was the like ground zero point for me. Then at that point, I had really long hair, I cut my hair. I sold all my records, everything I owned before that. I kept Appetite for Destruction. That's the only one I kept. But like, I've got the Robert Williams one, so I kept that. But like, apart from that, I sold everything. I had like 28 Pink Floyd LPs. I just took them to the store. There was a shop, it's still there at the top of my parents' road, so really close to my house when I was growing up. And that was a shop I got my first X records, my first Fear records, Social Distortion's first album, The Boys, The Lurkers, so much stuff. Crass. That was the first time. So literally, it was at I was about 15 when that happened, and at that point, I was like, "That's it. It's just punk and nothing else." From now, and I formed a band. That was the starting point. I was like, "That's it." Like, I could always sing. I've always been like a decent singer, but I could never play an instrument. But I bought a bass off a friend at school. I played along with like punk records, and we were in my first band in that same year. I must have been about 15, and we were called the Double D Nymphos, after the name of a porno mag that the drummer had.
Man, so that's really interesting because, you know, when someone asks me to describe like how I got into punk or metal or whatever, like music in general, it's never like a linear thing. It's like it's like, you know, oh, I used to listen to to I don't know, Sisters of Mercy, and then I stopped that and got into the Clash, and I stopped that and got it. It was like those years like overlapped for me, and because like I never really stopped liking a lot of that stuff, and it seems like it's kind of the same for you. It's like it was all kind of just influenced you. But when you got into punk, it sounds like you got into like head first.
It was literally like old Marco died, new Marco began.
Damn, that's crazy. Like ground zero. Like
what's really weird for me is that like so bands that I still like the Butthole Surfers, Dead Milkman, King Missile, stuff like that, even though those are kind of punk bands, in my mind, because I was listening to them before I considered myself a punk, I'm really strict with myself, and I'm like, oh, that's pre me being a punk. I'm really strict about it, like with myself. And then like, I mean, for nostalgia, I kind of wish I kept a lot of my metal records, because I mean, I still do like that kind of stuff. But I'll listen to that stuff on Spotify now. I mean, as you can see, the records behind me, there's I got like 1,000. It's all punk. That's it. I've only got punk.
Wow. It's called discipline, Marco, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I want to talk to you. So you're talking about Green Day,
yeah,
and I want to talk to you about No Front Teeth, and how you started. When you got into Green Day, was Lookout Records an influence on starting No Front Teeth?
For sure. So I'm a real Lookout guy. Obviously, at the time, the big ones were going to be like Epitaph, Lookout, and Fat Records. Obviously, I was a total Lookout guy. And most other people, I mean, there weren't many punks in my school or anything like that, but most people I met were kind of not. They were either Epitaph or Fat Wreck. Really, I was purely Lookout. I loved Screeching Weasel. So obviously through Green Day, I then found Screeching Weasel and Blatz, the Shit Split, Blatz Filth, tons of stuff. Like, I just love the Lookout stuff, the Queers, everything. Operation Ivy, obviously, Pinhead Gunpowder, Criminals later on, stuff like amazing stuff. And definitely, I mean, that would have been 94, 95, something like that, 94. And I started NFT in 2000. So yeah, 100% Lookout was a big influence, and the other big influence labels would have been Beer City, Hostage.
Oh yeah,
and obviously stuff like Danger House and Posh Boy, 100% as well, because I obviously was already getting into all that stuff as well. And maybe the biggest influence was probably Beer City.
Really?
Wow.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I Beer City, like the Bristles and like Blank 77. Were they? I don't know.
Blank 77. They definitely had the Bristles. They put out a lot of the Bristles. They had like Beautiful Burt and the Luscious Ones, 1096.
Yes.
Wonder Chrome and the Leather Pharaohs.
Yes.
The motherfuckers, the jerk-offs, the murderers.
Yeah, yeah. And they were the skateboard. They were
exactly. Yeah,
skateboards too, right?
Skateboards, yeah. So I mean, that guy. I mean, Mike used to put out like almost seemed like 10 7-inches a month or something. There was a point where he was putting out so many 7-inches, and I used to you could own this. It was kind of pre-internet, so I would phone him up, and you had to have a credit card, which I was too young to have, so I'd have to get my dad's credit card. I'd have to pay my dad back, and then I'd call up, and it would arrive. You know, it's amazing. My first thing I ever made. No, Alternative Tentacles was the first thing I ever mail ordered, but they had a thing here in London. But Beer City was the first like international mail order I ever did, and I was just like over the moon. That was because that was happening at the time. That was such an important label and Hostage, another one. Those were like, but that was they were like really sort of blueprints for like NFT, I think. I just
interesting
what they were doing, and they were doing at that time. So Lookout obviously predated me and was obviously a massive label by the time I was doing No Front Teeth. So yeah.
So how did you end up actually starting No Front Teeth?
Completely by accident. So basically, I went to sound engineering after school. I went to university. I did architecture at university, and then I went into sound engineering. And I went with a friend of mine from school who was actually the drummer in my band, and we met a guy there called John. And the three of us would like the course was 3 evenings a week and then full day Saturday and Sunday. So we would at lunch we'd always jump on the tube and go to record stores because all three of us were obsessed with records. And then we were talking about it, saying, "Oh man, we spend a lot of money on records, and is there a way we could, I don't know, get records for free?" And John said, "Yeah, there is a way. You just start a fanzine." And I was like, "Oh, how we could do that?" He's like, "Yeah, totally." And we were lucky that a friend, the other guy who is he worked in a post room for a big company whose name I won't say, but like so basically I got Maximum Rock and Roll, I got Flipside Out, everything, all fanzines, everything, and copied all the addresses, and we just did a letter, and we sent 1,000 letters out all over the world, bought a PO box, and started a fanzine, and people sent us stuff. I was like, man, people send you stuff, like this is amazing. So obviously we reviewed it, obviously, but like we were getting loads and loads of stuff. I was like, this is amazing. But all over the world, Disaster was sending stuff, Hostage sent stuff, Go-Kart Records, TKO Records. It was amazing stuff. And then I was like, and I couldn't believe how nice everyone was. And I was like, God, people are so cool. And I was like, it'd be so cool to put a compilation out of stuff that we like that isn't really represented here, like all this Hostage Beer City stuff. So I spoke to Mike at Beer City and was like, hey, can we're thinking of putting a comp together. He's like, yeah, take whatever songs. Disaster Records said the same thing. Hostage said the same thing. All the bands did it, and we put out our first CD, which was called Suburban Life Sentence. It was like 28 songs, did super well. And that we were still a fanzine. Oh yeah, we did one issue of the fanzine, a paper issue. And then because John was working in IT, he was like, why don't we just become a webzine? And I was like, well, if you know how to do that, yeah. And we sent him all the content and he made it. And then we did the compilation, carried on being a webzine, and then I guess just carried on from there. But we had no intention of being a record label. That was just not on the cards at all. Not at all.
Wow, that I can easily see that. I mean, I'm sure Josh did. Well, Josh's story is similar because Josh used to have a zine too. But I remember when I used to do Audio Ammunition with my friend Ed, that it was almost overwhelming. Like we started this, and then people sent us so much, like I couldn't even keep up with it. Like we couldn't even keep up with it, you know. And so I know how that goes. And yeah, even like a few years ago, people are still just as nice. They're still so kind and willing to support. And
I can't believe it. I mean, we did like the third release we did. So we were just CDs in those days because vinyl. We were young. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. Vinyl was out of the question. But like we did this release that was called Fruit Cocktail versus Hellcat, and it was this guy James, who was a photographer for Vice magazine, and basically he loved all the Hellcat bands, and he'd go to the gigs, and he'd have like a portable recording thing, and he'd record them singing all this stuff. And he had like Dwayne Peters on it, he had Tim Armstrong, he had the guys from Dropkick Murphys, guys from the Slackers, and
the All-Stars.
Yeah. So he asked us to put it out, and I wrote to Chris LaSalle at Hellcat, and he's like, yeah, fine, you can totally do it. He's like, you can't use the Hellcat logo, but just send me a copy. I was like, that's like a massive label, and they're this cool. And even Disaster was so cool. They were just like, oh, just send us a bunch of copies. And so I couldn't believe that people were this nice and just, you know, kind of like sort of real human beings, not just like, oh, we want you to have it, but you got to pay us. Like, it was amazing. Like, it's, you know, and that's never changed. People have just been so nice and so generous, and like, but we've always been that way with people as well. Like always, we've, you know, I always made it a point that we never wanted to get involved in the digital side of stuff with the bands we do, because I think they should have all the money. Like, we're a record label. I like putting the physical thing out. I think if there's money to be made from digital, why not let the bands have that? You know, we always give the bands 20% of the press. Loads of labels just give 10. We've always given 20%. We always do additional copies at cost price, not even wholesale price. So I think we've always been super, super fair, because it's not a business. It's just a total labor of love. So,
right. Yeah. No, I totally agree. You know, it is nice when people are supportive, you know, and it was like almost shocking, you know. So anyone that knows you and knows your label knows that you have a lot of, I want to make sure I'm not jumping the gun here, but knows you got a ton of releases, and I mean hundreds of releases. So
we're on 300 now.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Plus, that's not even counting like all the variant covers and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's probably like 3,000 with that.
So the time and effort that has taken to amass such a discography, I mean, because you said it was a labor of love still. So like how, like, can you describe like a day of your no front teeth duties? Like how
So no front teeth stuff is every single day. So I've got a 9 to 5 job. I work in an art department in a school, so I'm up super early. But every day when I go to the post office every single day of my life, apart from Sundays when it's closed. But in my lunch break, I carry 2 massive bags to the post office every day, and still I get stuff picked up as well if they're bigger ones by couriers. But if it's normal orders, like 1 or 2 records, every single day at the post office, assembling records, organizing stuff for pressing, every single day. Yeah, it's non-stop work. And often people, I always find it quite funny. People always say, "Oh, I'd love to run a label." I'm like, "Do you really want to know what running a label is?" Yeah, it's packing stuff up, carrying stuff. It's waiting in queues. It's paying bills. It's paying customs fees. It's waiting for UPS to come and pick a box up. It's getting backache. And then there's a little bit where you put a record out that's quite fun. But like, it's a lot of work. I think if I would have known it was going to be this amount of work, it probably would have scared me off. But because it happened slowly, for the first 5 years of NFT were hard years. When in many ways, I'm surprised we even carried on with it. But it obviously takes a bit of time with everything for it to take off. To take off. So, but yeah, it's every day. It's every day. And now I've got 3 sons, and they kind of help me assemble records. Because
cool.
So me, John, and Sam started the label, and then throughout the years, various people have come, but me and John started it. That was it. Then various people joined, and that's back. The past 10 years have been just me and John again. It's just and
that's awesome. You got your sons in it though.
Yeah. So I got to pay them, but they got to. But it helps assembling records and stuff, and so it's cool. They like stamping stuff and all that, so it's quite fun. But but it's a hell of a lot of work, and it's just non-stop.
So we're beyond 20 years and over 300 releases. Yeah. So you clearly have really made a success out of this. Why do you think that your label has done so well? What do you attribute to the popularity of No Front Teeth Records?
I actually don't know the answer to that, but we always agree on what release we're going to put out, but we only put out stuff that we like, regardless. It's never been about whether it'll sell or not. That's just a bonus. And often we put out a band's first release, which I really like. So often, like, I'll always take a chance on a band. I don't even consider it a chance. If I like it, I'll put it out, and then whatever happens after that, brilliant. If they get and I did want to kind of document the London punk scene, which I think we did quite well. I put out a load of stuff from London, like loads of stuff from London, which I really like. That was something I really wanted to do, but I don't know when all of a sudden it became a sort of very collectible label, and I don't even know how or why or when that happened. But all of a sudden I was like, oh, whoa, I've got to say, there were 5 to 8 very hard years where it's like, why bother doing this? Like, it was hard, like like the early stuff, and we had good stuff. We were working with like the bands like the Smut Peddlers really early on and stuff like that, and cool stuff. And but it was hard. I mean, we everything, and every penny made from No Front Teeth goes back into it, which is so. But I don't know the answer to that. It just happened. I'm not sure how. But
you mentioned. I can tell you, at least for me, why your records become so collectible. So I collect comics, and there's tons of variant covers on lots of comics, and for your records, the packaging, the artwork is so unique and so well done. You want them, and you want all the other covers because they're just as cool. And that is what makes me get your records, is the fact that the art is so awesome. And not only that, but it's guaranteed that what's inside is going to be just as good.
Cool.
I'm glad you've done it for years.
Yeah, I'm glad that was a thing we always said, that the packaging had to be as good as the music. Like, we were never lazy with packaging. And like, I've done 99.9% of the covers, but I never say no if a band wants to do them. Obviously, like, they're welcome to do it, but most people want me to do the artwork. So
yeah, that's why.
And I do think we do have a look. I think you can tell. I've been told many times that people just say you can tell when it's a No Front Teeth release.
Yeah.
looking at the front, and then you turn around, you're like, yeah, I knew it was. So I do think we definitely have a look, and I'm glad. And I've never been the biggest fan of like coloured vinyl. I would always rather a different sleeve, like an alternate sleeve, than a coloured vinyl, because I think it's another piece of art rather than, you can't see the coloured vinyl. The cover, you can tell is totally different. Until you open the record, you can't see that it's on different colour vinyls. Whereas the front cover being completely different, or a theme, or four that go together and make a picture, or has a zip sewn in or something.
Yeah,
so we've always done that. The artwork is, I always wanted the artwork to jump out and people to be like, I'm going to take a chance on this, even if who knows if I like it or not, but the cover's so cool, I want it, kind of thing. So
exactly. Man, you achieve that. You
cool.
definitely achieve that.
I think we all love the fact that every month we can look forward to the website update.
Yeah.
And then you immediately click on the new releases just to find out what you're putting out, because if it's on your label, it's going to be great.
Right.
Oh, cool. Calling all scums.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's this is kind of off the side thing, but do you write those?
Yeah,
because that's pretty. It's very amusing. It's very good writing. I read it every time.
I remember a funny story about that. Like the guy who was working in the post room, he happened to mention to a coworker who wasn't a punk or anything, to the total normal person or whatever, and said, "Oh, I run a label." Told him the website address, and he went on it. And the next day, he said, "I went on your site, but I couldn't understand any of it." And he was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "It was written in weird language. I didn't understand any of it." He was like, "It's written in English." And he was, but he just didn't get it. He didn't get that calling all scums, and you used to say fugging instead of fucking and all that. But like, he just didn't get it. So I've always found me to this day that he's just like, I didn't get it at all. So
yeah, well, it's not for everyone, I guess.
Thank God.
Yeah. So aside from all your no front teeth duties, your 9-to-5 job, you also have a lot of musical projects.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to know, well, I want to know particularly about one, but what drives you to start so many new musical projects?
So like I've always had a insatiable creative drive, and like with art, like fine art, and like also music. So like I get really excited. I never get bored of the prospect of a new project. And there's so many people around. So I like, the pandemic was amazing for that for me, because like we did so many I did recording projects with friends from Germany, because technology is so good. It's so easy to record stuff at home now.
Yeah,
you can do really good sounding stuff. And I've done records with people I've never met. I've done recordings with people from South Carolina, that you can't tell that they were done, thousands of miles apart, kind of thing. So I just, that my creative drive is, I just don't see ever burning out. I never get tired of it. I'm really fast. And I often, like, if it's like a solo project, that's something I never intend to play live or anything like that, I'm so busy and stuff that if I get like a free hour or a couple of hours, I'll just come to the studio and I won't even write something. I'll just record something. I'll write and record at the same time, because I don't have time to write and like remember it. And then so I'll just be like, let's see what happens. And maybe lay down some rhythm guitar and be like, oh, that's cool. And then the next time I'll lay down some lead or whatever. So I just never stop with that. I don't see myself stop it. I don't know. Greg from Rock and Roll Manifesto did a show on all my stuff. I don't know if you heard it, but it was like 45 bands or something since I was so I do think they sound different. Like the bands all are. I try to not make the same.
Oh yeah.
But my voice is. I can sing in different styles, but I just think I don't try to make the same band twice, which is hard 45 times. But like
yes,
yeah.
We were at the top of the program. Jay and I were sharing our Gaggers stories on our reflections on the band's importance in that era of punk rock. So I just love to hear, like, what was the inspiration for how that band got started?
So again, that was semi-accidental. So basically, just from being in the London punk scene at the time, so this would have been 2008, I guess, something like that. The London punk scene was amazing then. So you had bands like the London Guns, you had Urban Shock. God, they were good bands at the time. I can't remember them all now, but like, so we used to go to shows all the time. And actually, John, who I run No Front Teeth with, he was a sound engineer at the time as well for a club called the 12 Bar in Soho, and that was like a legendary place, and everyone used to hang out there, loads of punk gigs and stuff. And the band The London Guns are one of my favorite at the time, and that's got Brandy in it, who's the guitar player from the Gaggers. And we always used to talk about starting a band together. And it was like, yeah, it'd be so cool, so cool. But then we were so busy until one point it was just like, right, let's just do this. And he just came to my house with a guitar, and we just wrote Fix Me Up or something. I can't remember. It just came out, and we were just like, whoa, that's really good. I think we wrote two. I think we wrote Fix Me Up and Got No Time, because that was the whole thing about us never having time. So we were like, let's write a song about not having time. So, and my cousin was on drums at the time. So that was the Gaggers just came around. I mean, we didn't sit down and think, oh, we're gonna do this like snotty 77 thing that sounds like a bit like an English Stitches or a bit Dead Boysy. We had no plans. Like, those are the clothes we wore. It wasn't even planned like, oh, we're Spots and Stripes the whole time. It was just how we were. That's what came out. We had no clue what it was going to be. It could have been a hardcore band that came out. It could have been anything.
Interesting.
But there was no
that's
plan.
cool. Well, I wanted to ask you, there's some pretty cool videos that you guys, the Gaggers, did, like Two Fingers Down My Throat and Psychosomatic. Do you guys like making videos? Is that something you enjoy doing? Or
Yeah. With those, so that was we made videos with both lineups, from the 3-piece. Because I used to play bass in the first one as well. With 3-piece, I sang and played bass, and then my cousin left. Sean joined on drums, Liam joined on bass, and I just became the singer, which I preferred anyway. But so the videos were a lot of fun, and we made those all ourselves. They were like really fun. Like, we just like the Two Fingers was filmed at my parents' house while they were having work done. We just put loads of
really? That gate?
Yeah, all of that stuff. Yeah. So we just did that, and it was I think my wife would film some of them. It was just totally homemade, but I really liked that about it, because I liked how they were sort of shitty and cheap, and fun. That was kind of how they were supposed to be, but still, I think they look pretty cool. But they were definitely, videos are, I don't enjoy it as much as like recording the music, but they are definitely, I think, a cool, it's definitely an important thing. I was listening to the show you did with Ben and talking about music videos and stuff. So like, it is an important thing, definitely. And people like to see what the band look like and stuff as well. So
yeah. I mean, the videos, it very much goes with the song. That's the coolest part, is when you can mentally, you hear the song and you can kind of, the visuals go right in line with what you already thought it was. I don't know if that makes any sense.
For sure. Yeah.
But Two Fingers Down My Throat was the first. Josh was saying, we were talking about you guys, the Gaggers. That was my first introduction to you guys. Was that?
Video. That's the first video we made as well. So yeah.
Jim from Underground Medicine, from Average Pulse, he showed it to me.
Cool. Yeah. He was a big fan. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. But that was fun. We were kind of cartoon characters in the Gaggers, so the videos have that kind of aspect to them of sort of comic book kind of cartoons, I guess. So like a bit, kind of extreme, I suppose. But yeah,
it's cool.
Sure, yeah.
So that's the one thing I love. People will talk all the time about, it used to be better back in the day before the internet. But in this post-internet world, I get exposed to so many more bands than I used to, because I'm coming up, I would only be writing mostly about American bands, and I wasn't really aware of like all the great bands from the UK. Yeah. Now it's like I actually have kind of like an international audience and an international kind of group of bands that I write about. It's really it's
an
amazing, interesting world. Like, what's it like? I know you're still running a record label and you're putting out records, but running that kind of record label in this digital age.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people that does think it was better before the internet, weirdly, because I don't know. I just think I'm on both sides, because so I think there was something really precious and special about pre-internet music, loving music pre-internet, because if you saw I know that when I was into like my metal stuff, if I was walking down the street and someone was walking towards me wearing a Faith No More t-shirt, I could talk to them and we'd be instantly friends for real, for life.
Right.
I mean, I remember a friend joined the school I was at a year after me, and he was reading Thrasher magazine during break, and I was like, we're friends for life, simple as that. And he's still one of my best friends. And but now, I mean, that's like meaningless. Like, you know, you see someone walking down the street in a Thrasher, a hooded top, it's just, they don't even know what it is. They're just wearing it because of Kardashian wore it or whatever. But like, so that preciousness of the real dealness of it all is something that's definitely lost, because now, and also, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Discogs and I buy stuff off Discogs, but now you see a record, you just go on Discogs and buy it, which is amazing. But it's also like, well, whatever happened to, I found that in the shop and I got it, and, you know, and the sort of uniqueness and the sort of magic behind actually owning it, rather than just like, you know, I could order this right, you know, while doing an interview, I could order a record if I want, which is amazing as much as it is sort of bad, I think. So, but yeah, obviously the internet is why we're even here. Like, No Frontiers even here. We, you know, as soon as we had the chance to stop being a paper zine, I took that chance straight away. So I'm on completely both. I'm kind of glad that I'm of the age that I experienced music before the internet and after. I mean, I'm on Spotify. I love Spotify. You know, it's amazing. YouTube, amazing. All this stuff's absolutely amazing, and it's never ending. There's like too much of it now. But yeah, running. That I've never noticed. I think people still like the physical product, so I don't think the internet can ever kill vinyl. I think it can kill CDs, but I think people still want the record. I think people still want the record even if they don't have a record player. Weirdly, I think they just want the record. If you want it, like, I mean, you know, I know that in this resurgence of like vinyl, a German friend of mine said that. So, you know, these pressing plant delays now, apparently they're down to like Adele and like Ed Sheeran, because their records need to be pressed in these ginormous numbers that no plant can cope with anymore. But a friend of mine said he went round to his friend's house and she had the Adele record on the shelf like a piece of art. Like she bought the record, doesn't have a record player, but it's a piece of art on the wall. So that's how people like viewing it. They're even, you know, this record's been pressed and it's never going to be played, but it's a piece of art. So, you know, LPs were, I can imagine an Adele record was probably like $30-something or something, you know, so not cheap. So like, I just think it'll always be here now. Like it's weirdly really popular. So I think like the digital thing just will never kill vinyl, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's actually helping.
Weirdly, I think it is. Yeah,
because every time I review a record that's out on vinyl, I realize that by the time I print this review, it'll be sold out probably in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's totally bizarre. Nobody could have guessed this, I don't think.
I know. Well, coincidentally enough, Marco, No Front Teeth albums or 7 inches look really good on my wall.
Amazing, thank you.
I wanted to ask you though. I know we were talking about your projects before. One of my favorites of yours was Stalin Video.
Oh, cool.
And so I just want to ask you a little bit about how did that come about, and like, you know, tell me how that how that originated.
So that's the people from South Carolina I was telling you about. So that's Brandon, who I knew just, I guess just through, maybe he just ordered NFT stuff. I can't remember, but like I was talking to Brandon already, and then we obviously got talking about, he's really into like the spits and like synthy stuff. So I think we just got talking about doing a musical project. He had like a studio at home, and I think his wife was on the first one, was it? And his cousin, I think. But like, so they just did the music and sent it, and I didn't even know what they were going to send. But I think we had loosely in mind that it was going to be Spitz-esque. So, and I kind of wanted it to be the subject matter to be kind of odd, about kind of like nuclear radiation and kind of I hadn't really done anything along those lines before, like subject wise. And we did the 7-inch first, then it just again, we hadn't really planned it, that it just came around like that, and did the 7-inch, then the first album, and then the second album. And that's, we'll probably do another one at some point. And but it's very synthy. We just knew it was going to be like synthy and kind of Spitz-esque.
Yeah.
think those were the only two things that we kind of knew it would be. But I didn't really know how I was going to sing on it or anything like that, or what it was really going to be about, really. So, but that's yeah. So quite a different project, yeah. Like one of the first synthy things I did, really, probably.
Oh yeah, man, I love it. And another thing I just want to ask you real quick. You guys did a video for "Cut Me Off."
Oh yeah.
Was that you?
That was
that?
Yeah.
Was it? Okay, cool. I was wondering about that.
Keyboards, yeah. As a Stalin, yeah, that was, yeah. We filmed that on my work, and the head of the department came in while we were filming it. I was like, "What on
Nice.
earth are you doing?" Like,
A lot of explaining to do on that, huh?
I mean, it's all good. You can get away with anything in art. It's all art, so it's fine.
So you got a new Telegenic Pleasure record coming out fairly soon. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that's obviously Rob. So yeah, him and I have known each other for a while. Yeah, so I think I did the Isolation Party LP, and then the Mono Negative. So I've been speaking to Rob, been in touch with Rob for years. We spoke about doing a project again that we knew would be synth driven. Again, not 100%. I don't know if we knew exactly what it would come out like. And then we did the first album, and then the second one. Second one's a bit different to the first, actually. It's really good, and that's going to come out. That hasn't even gone to press yet. That's going to come out on No Front Teeth and hopefully Feral Kid Records. We're just ironing out a few things now about that, so it's that probably will be out 2023 because everything's so slow. It would normally have been this year, but I think it's too late.
All Adele's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Rage Against the Machine or whoever does their anniversary reissues.
ABBA's whole discography, because that's not readily available or anything in every.
So Springsteen.
Yeah, all of that. All still available. It doesn't need to be repressed, but
it's got to have that artwork, right? You got to have the.
Could have the 180 gram. Back
right.
To back. Yeah.
You mentioned artwork. You had a project called Savage Communication.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that's me and my tattooist Martin. So I've been getting tattooed by Martin for 25 years or something, and we spoke about doing artwork together, and the idea was to work collaboratively on paintings with never saying no to what the other person's idea is. So the idea is nobody has control over the painting. We decide what we want. So we'd have dinners and stuff, and they were all going to be rock and roll themed paintings. So rock and roll defining anything we think is rock and roll. So it could have been Evel Knievel, it could have been the Cramps, it could have been Nosferatu, it could have been Dukes of Hazzard, it could be anything that either of us thinks is rock and roll. So and that's the thing, that you can't say no to what the other person wants to do. So that's why it's such a range of things, from rockabilly to movies to punk to whatever. So, and we before we did it, we said, look, we'll give it a go, and if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work, and that's it. And of course, fine. And we did it, and it was great, and it was so much fun, because he had behind his tattoo studio, he had like an art studio. So I'd go there every Sunday, and we'd paint. And I'd usually be on the right-hand side of the painting, but we'd do it simultaneously. We'd listen to like Iggy Pop's radio show and just paint or play records or whatever. And it was just really, really fun. And then we had an exhibition. So my parents had a restaurant in the city of London for 46 years. And basically we did an exhibition there. We just took all the tables out and did an exhibition. And we filled it with people, and it was really, really cool. It did really well. Then we did one in Martin's tattoo shop. Then we did one in the Karma Sanctum Hotel in Soho, like a rock and roll hotel. Then we did one at the Roundhouse, and they all did really well. We still do it. It's just time is that takes a lot of time. And Martin's actually, he doesn't have the studio anymore. He's kind of semi-retired from tattooing. So we're just taking it a bit slow, but we're still doing stuff. We still get commissions and stuff, but it's just that's slowed down a bit, but we're still doing it.
That's really awesome that you can find someone like a kindred soul that you can do something like that with, you know?
It's so nice to not have the control over it, because I not in a really horrible way, but I can be quite controlling about things but that it's nice when you know from the get-go that it doesn't belong to anyone. That's a really nice feeling. So it's like, okay, not being precious about it, like caring and doing your best, but not being precious about like, oh, maybe I wouldn't have done it that way. And often things come out better when you think you wouldn't have done it that way. So it's a really nice way to be.
Hmm.
And sometimes with things like coming from a punk background, with some things that might be considered so unpunk that you can't do them. So it's quite nice to have like a freedom in something and be like, oh wow, I might just do that, or I might just drill a hole in this. I wouldn't have done that, but let's drill a hole in it and see what happens, kind of thing. So I do really enjoy that freedom of that.
It's cool.
For sure. Yeah.
So we wanted to ask you if you have anything in the works coming out on No Front Teeth that you wanted to tell our listeners about.
We've got, so our next releases, we've got 2 coming out on Friday, July the 15th. So that's about 2 weeks away. And it is the LP by Smash the Granny, which is members of Oil, the Livids. It's amazing record, absolutely brilliant. I've known Jamie since the days where she worked for TKO, which is amazing. So she used to send me all the stuff, in fact. So and I love the shop fronts and stuff like that as well.
I was going to ask if she was in that rip-off band, Shop Fronts.
Yeah, that's right. Amazing band. So that's coming out, and then the other one is Malavista from New York. It's
that's a great record.
Oh yeah,
such a good record. Yeah. They've really got that kind of like early punk band. Like, it really reminds me of a lot of early sort of Irish stuff, which is amazing. I can really hear like the Outcasts in there, and even Stifler.
Oh yeah,
brilliant record. So those 2 are coming out, and then I guess what else? Oh, we're doing Bart and the Brats from France.
Ooh.
That's they've had a 10-inch out. This is their full length. That should be maybe August, but more like September. There's another La Rabbia 7-inch coming out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's. I think there are more in the works. I can't remember exactly what they all are now, but like, there's a few. Yeah, I forget because there's so long between them now. So like, I mean, not so long between, but everything's like, I don't know when things are going to arrive and stuff. So, but I know that those have both arrived, and they'll definitely be out July the 15th. So, yeah,
that's cool, man. Well, just to touch back on what you were saying about just being able to jump on Discogs and get whatever, and I was saying, one of the things that still it doesn't get as much, but one of the things that I loved about going to, like, especially a record store in a new town or a comic book store in another town, is you get like that feeling that like the butterflies, like, what treasures am I going to dig up in here? Like, what am I going to find? You get like that, you get kind of like pumped, going in there.
100%. I definitely still get that.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I mean, because sometimes I feel like when you go on Discogs, it's almost like overwhelming. Almost, I get on there, I go, well, I don't know what I'm going to list. I don't know what I want, but when it's like, sometimes when you go to a record store, you get stuff that's kind of like an impromptu buy, like you wouldn't normally get, or you get something because of the cover, or you, whatever. And so, I think that will never die. And another sub question I want to ask you.
Yeah.
You mentioned you had 3 sons.
Yeah.
Have you tried to instill to them, like, hey, kind of ease off the Spotify, let's go to the record store, or hey, let's, that kind of thing?
Unfortunately, I think I've put them off record stores for life, because they
was helping you.
They have waited for me in record shops. Like, their perception of a record shop is probably being bored sitting on the floor playing a game on a phone, because like, dad's taking forever. So I mean, I love that they know what records are, they know what a 7-inch is, they know what an LP is. I think that's great, but I think they definitely enjoy their music digitally. They're all into hip hop, none of them are into punk, unfortunately. My middle one used to be, his favorite band was the Germs at one point. He loved G.G. Allen when he was like a proper kid. So I was like, oh, that's quite cool. But and they quite like Devo. I mean, they do, like, in the car, they'll be like, oh yeah, they know what everything is, which is quite cool. But they definitely like sort of UK drill, kind of aggressive hip hop, which is fine. I mean, it's fine. I can see the attraction in that. But yeah, I would love them to be into punk or rock or something and play instruments, but it's not their thing. So yeah, it's all cool. They got to do what they got to do. I mean, I wouldn't. Right. I want them to it's all good. You know, my middle one has started writing, like doing beats and writing lyrics. So it's all cool. It's just a different version of what I was doing at that age, which is fine. You know, my parents weren't into punk, so I'm sure they would have rather I was in a band like the Beatles or something, but like wasn't to be. So like, yeah. But yeah, I think I mean, that's the thing. When everywhere where I go on holiday, the one thing I insist, because I try and keep the punk rock to like a minimum on a family holiday, because otherwise it's just boring. But for everyone else, you know, but record shops I have to go to. I have to go to record shop because it just excites me too much. So, but I honestly think that my kids are just going to be like, oh God, I'll take them for record fairs. They're just like, oh, who cares? So, unfortunately, yeah, I think they have. I put them off records. So.
I'm the same way. When I go, I will just go by myself. I was like, you guys go to the beach or you guys go do the museum thing. I'm going to just take the bus over here for the day.
I mean, I do that as well. Like when we went to San Francisco, because we go somewhere in America every October with me, my wife and kids, and my sister and her family. And when we went to San Francisco, I was like boring everyone with records. So I was like, right, I'll just go to the Mission District myself tomorrow and go to a few shops and stuff like that. So yeah. But I have to do that. That's one thing I really, really want to do. I don't care to like. It doesn't matter if I don't go to shows abroad. Because I'm just, you're only there for a limited amount of time, and I don't want it to all be about like me and punk rock. So, but a record was like an hour, here and there, or whatever. So like, I think that's like fine. And then you find stuff. We went to Montreal a couple of years ago, and man, some of the best record shops I've ever been in my life were there. Couldn't believe it. Like amazing. Like Sonic Music, fucking. One of the best record labels I've ever been, record stores I've ever been to in my life. Couldn't believe that. And you get a lot of French and Canadian stuff in there, which you don't get elsewhere. I mean, records in San Francisco, amazing. Like you just wouldn't get here. Thrill House Records in San Francisco, amazing.
Interesting.
So it's for me. It's again, like I'm probably sure I could just sit at home and order loads of this stuff on Discogs, but it's not the same. It's not the same. The surprise element of what's the next record I'm going to see flipping through, I mean, in a way, Bandcamp's better for that because you might if you like that, you might like this, and then you will learn other stuff, which is quite cool. But Discogs, you've got to type it in, so you already know what you're looking for. So there's none of that surprise chance element.
We talked about it earlier, but tell our listeners about your website and where they can find out all the information they need about No Front Teeth.
Cool. Okay. Well, we have nofrontteeth.net or nofrontteeth.co.uk. That's so our website's really streamlined now. We just put the monthly news up that tells you the most recent stuff. There's like a web store, but it's not really a web store. You still got to email us because everything sells out so fast that it was like, oh God, people keep ordering stuff and I got to refund them because it's sold out. So we just have it so people like email us, and which people really got. I think people quite like that. People get in straight away and quite like it. I find it quite organized and it works quite well. And then there's just our out of print section, which people like to see the thousands of things that.
Oh yeah, man, that's one of my favorite things to go, because that's how you get what you're going to get on Discogs, all the out of print stuff.
Exactly. Right. Do you know what's really funny? Like about 10 years ago, maybe less, maybe like 9 years ago, or 10, I don't know. A customer wrote to me and he said, "Can you just check this attachment and tell me if it's correct?" And I was like, "What?" So I opened the attachment and he's made an Excel sheet with every NFT release, the year it came out, the title, what format it was, how many were pressed, and I was like, fucking hell, I haven't even got this. So from then on, I carried it on. But he made it. I never would have made one myself. I was like, this guy knows more about NFT than I do. But like, so I carried it on from then. But yeah, I was like, this is a good piece of kit to have, actually, like a good document to have. But yeah, and then we've got, I do my own Instagram, which is Terminal Gagger, because I like to keep it all in one place. So I'll always do release info on there. Like as soon as something's out, that's where you'll hear about it. And again, people have got, I just can't be bothered to run a No Front Teeth, another one you got to like run. It's just all on the same one. And then we do a Facebook, which is literally just the news. Because again, it's quite lazy, to be honest. But like in that sense, it's just, we don't like push. We just say, hey, it's out. Email us. That's basically what we do. And it seems to work for what we're doing. Again, it was never, it's, as I said before, it's enough work as it is that I don't want it to really feel like another full-time job. I don't mind putting the work in. It's, I still get the excitement of putting a release out as much as I ever did 20 years ago. But I've got to say that running a label in 2022 in post-Brexit England, it's not fun. It's been the least fun year of running a label, even though, you know, interest and sales and stuff like that haven't been affected. But it's just the amount of hurdles to deal with now just make it like really no fun. Like everything's gone up. Shipping's like ridiculous now, and you know, internationally, whatever. And Brexit is just another layer of crap to deal with. So it's just like pressing times, like, oh man, pressing prices have gone up. It's like it's really not the time to be, you know, thinking about starting a label. Certainly, I would never start a label now. No way. I'd do it like a digital thing if I was doing it now, probably. It's just there's too many hurdles now. So, you know, as much as, you know, I mean, we did the X Video LP, sold out in like a week. So it's like, it's amazing. But like, it's just, so that side of things, I think that excitement and like feeling what we're doing is valid and people like it is the feeling that is what makes us carry on doing it. But otherwise, it's just, it's honestly, it's not been a fun year at all. It's getting a bit better now-ish, I think, but it's been I think the pressing plant times seem to be getting a little bit better from what I hear, but
That's
it's
cool.
just not fun. And the record store day is just like annoying. It's twice a year now. It's
Okay, I was wondering about that. I was like, didn't we just have record store day?
I know. So there's like 2 now. I don't know what that's about. Like, but you know, I've done stuff for record store day and stuff, but it's more about fun covers and things. And like, I mean, we did some really cool like leather covers, and we did like comic book stuff, and we did like really, really quite cool stuff. We did one with like razor blades in it for the sharp objects, and I can't remember.
Oh, I don't remember that. That's awesome.
So we did cool stuff, but it's just, there's just so many things in the way now of actually the fun and excitement of doing a label. It used to be relatively easy. Running a label costs a lot of money, which it always did. But now it's like that, plus the work, plus a whole load of shit. So, so if someone was, you know, do you think I should start a label now? I'd be like, absolutely not. Wait until wait until stuff calms down a bit, and then, well, maybe it never will. I don't know. Brexit probably would never go anywhere. That's just, you know, Europe was such, you know, it was amazing, and now it's difficult. Now, you know, I think a lot of people are trying to sort of teach England a lesson. So making, you know, now every time you send a parcel, people get charged like taxes. It doesn't need to be that way. It's just been difficult on purpose, which, you know, rightly so. It's a stupid thing that they did. Like, yeah, England. You know.
That's too bad, man. Yeah, I hope it goes. I hope that stuff eases back. I mean, you know, stuff here is getting difficult. It just fuel prices and shortages on a lot of stuff is getting crazy.
It's completely insane.
Yeah. Worrying is proper worrying. Like the amount of food's gone up. Fuel prices here are insane. It's mad. Like I don't really know, you know, what's going to happen. I do worry about that with my kids and stuff. Be like, whoa, you know, everything's hard as it is. You know, house prices are insane, and it's just like, wow, right? How's it going to be in 20 years? I don't know. 10 years. But, yeah.
Right. And I don't know, man. Sometimes I think fuel, just fuel, if you think about it, would affect all of that.
Yeah, it's the driver.
You know.
Yeah. Well, that's all factored in
fuel.
Yeah, that's all factored into pressing plant stuff. For example, like speaking about records, the fuel price is now there because obviously they got to deliver everything. You know. So before you even start with the price of vinyl going up or whatever, like the actual raw material, just the fuel is like insane. So every release now, I think releases this year went up like probably like $500 or something in the past couple of years. I think something like that. It's quite a lot. I mean, it's a lot. You know, and then how you know, we've always been on the cheaper side of things. Like I don't want to really push the prices up and stuff. It's like insane.
I know.
I
know. What are you going to do?
And you either do this or you don't, and you can't, like, you know. Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, so, you know, I still do get excited. So I don't, you know, I mean, it's funny because John and I speak about stopping No Front Teeth a lot.
Really?
A lot. I mean, way pre-COVID, pre all this. We've been talking about stopping it for the past 6 years, probably.
Wow.
Just because maybe when we were on around 200, because we were thought like maybe we've done what we set out to do with it. But then every time we tell Tom, they're like, "Why would you stop?" And I'm like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't stop then. And I still get excited. So it's really weird. Like there's no reason to stop. I mean, it's really nice to go out on a high, but it's also really nice to keep putting records out. So I don't know. But we've had the conversation like 10 times just for no reason. Not that either of us want to stop. That's all. I don't like, so it's just an idea of like, should we? Is it time to? I don't know. Like, but then I kind of think like out of everything I've done, No Front Teeth seems to be the one that is like the biggest because so many people are involved in it. By the time you take, I mean, it's thousands of people by the time you take all the people that are in the bands, all the people that have reviewed things, all the shops that have carried it. You know, I mean, Sean, drummer from the Gaggers, he lives in Los Angeles now. He's in the Telegenic Rats.
Oh,
He drums in the Telegenic Rats and the Crazy Squeeze. He was like, when he went on tour, he was like, man, No Front Teeth stuff's like everywhere, and everyone knows it, and everyone, you know, he went to Japan. He's like, everyone in Japan, all they want to talk about is No Front Teeth and the Gaggers, and I'm like, well, that's amazing. Like, to reach that kind of audience is like, that's quite big, you know.
yeah.
On that
Yeah,
scene.
you put in the time.
Yeah, so it's cool. Like, so I don't think I'll ever achieve something as sort of globally big as No Front Teeth. I don't think so. So it does seem, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, we're not thinking about stopping at the moment. So like, I'll probably do another 20 years and then be like, oh, think of stopping it. But like, yeah. But
Okay, that's good because I think you left Josh and I in shock.
This could be the last No Front Teeth interview.
I know. Well, man, I just want to tell you that and I hope this doesn't come off sounding whatever, but I feel like what you do and the talent you have is a gift. And if you stop doing No Front Teeth, I think it would leave a huge hole in music, and especially in underground punk rock. But yeah, man, oh my gosh, I hope you continue to do what you do at least until I'm gone off this earth.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, that's why we do it, and it's, you know, yeah. I mean, I don't know how serious we've ever been about stopping it anyway, but it's weirdly a conversation that we both had and both sort of had the same thought. Like, it's just because it's like, I don't even know. There's no reason. It's not even like, oh, we're hanging. Like, if anything, it gets better every year. Like, I don't know. So it's just, I don't know. Almost like it's nice to go out on your own terms rather than maybe the day will come when no one cares anymore. I mean, I hope not, but like, it's kind of, you know, you do see that happen. You do things like that. You do see things like that happen, and just be, with bands and stuff. It's nice to stop and leave a really nice discography that's kind of perfect, and that's it. And I wish they had more, you know. So, but I don't know. No, I mean, we're not. We don't. I mean, it's not like we're slowing down. I mean, we put out about 20 something releases every year, so it's not like we're even slowing down. I think we'll slow down before we do that. So.
Well, that's good to hear.
We're going to slow down into 0 releases a year. So, so you know when it's getting in the low numbers, the days are numbered. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start keeping count, so I'll see it coming.
Yeah.
All right, Marco. Well, man, we appreciate your time that you took to do this for us, and I want to remind everybody to go and support No Front Teeth. Support Marco's projects. You will not be, if you listen to this podcast, you will not be disappointed in anything that this guy puts out. I will put my personal guarantee on that. And so I want to thank our guest Marco for coming on our show tonight. And we want to thank you, our listener, for tuning in. And we ask that if it's possible, leave us a review, leave us a rating, whatever, because not only does it help us, but it will help all the people and the projects that they do that we have on our show, help spread the word on their stuff as well. And so I am Jay.
This is Josh.
And we are the Born Too Late podcast, signing off.